We're live! Back again on the same day. I'm just gonna keep talking endlessly, I think. Hopefully, this is at a good volume this time and audible. So, I just thinking about period of change, societal collapses, new developments, revolutions. How does that actually operate when you're in the midst of it? Because clearly, we're in a period of change. I don't know whether it's the separation we have because of technology that we are able to kind of view it with a closer eye, or if it's the same as it ever was. Yeah, I don't really know. But the way this one looks, when people think about revolution, they think of like populist, revolts. And I don't think this is going to be anything like that. Whether, World War III or, you know, heaven comes down to earth. There's too much infrastructure now. There's too much interconnectedness. Everything's too, yeah, interconnected. There's a lot of smaller fish that can get tossed into the fryer before anything actually changes. I showed this book gives you a perspective on the bigwig government level way that nations diplomatically integrate with each other in times of war. And it's a very interesting book because it humanizes it to a terrifying degree between churches and the human aspects. And of course, anytime there's a war, religion comes into it because I forget who says it, but there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. But I think right now, revolution would honestly be one of the worst possible things to do. That's just totally empowering the global elite, and they'll just make money off of it. The real way to revolt now is to change your outlook and find a way to protest without participation. You don't like go blowing stuff up, although that is the nature of revolutions, but this is a thought revolution, I think. I'm trying to find a specific picture in here. This book talks about uh, kind of the White House British interconnectedness during World War II and how that was done. And it's a very, very global thing. I mean, barely telephones, really. I take that back. Telephones, I think, had been around a bit. It also gets into, is it my will or God's will that's bringing these changes? And I think the old spanking device, using humans as instead of just your ass. It's people dying. But I think COVID was kind of a. Wish I could find that picture. An alarm bell for that. In times like this, it's really an all hands on deck kind of situation. And brings all kinds of different people together that normally would not cross paths. Come on, you bugger. Do the next page. Very strange I'm not able to find this picture. Yeah, this is going to be a less potent reflection. But I might even delete this. Can't pause it live. Revolution, societal collapse. What happens? How does that? So you get an integration of the different class levels. It becomes less of a class-based warfare, and it becomes a nation versus a nation. And I think what's happening right now is, I'm not going to say whether it's China or Russia or whatever, but the fracturing of American culture, economics, the religious thought, this is all happening as a culminated effort. Whether that's just the nature of societal degradation, I don't think so. Seeing as we're the leader of the world still, really. So the way you fracture an empire is, you bleed it out with little razor cuts. And that's clearly what's happening. And, the Alex Jones phenomenon and, people trying to revolt against the government is the last thing that should be happening. You should be participating in politics more. You should be voting more. You should be protesting more. You shouldn't be like hacking away at your own legs and ankles. Because you need the aristocracy and the country's elite and money holders and bankers to be there. You can't just behead it and expect that the whole system is going to change. Like, not change. It's going to stay the same, and you're going to have your jobs, and everything's going to be hunky dory. A revolution is not a freaking. I used to be a rebellious type. I was like, we got to get out there and change the world. And it's like, well, do you have any good ideas? Do you want to try to, take the keys to the car, give it a spin? I don't know about that. We don't realize how good we have it in this century. I mean, everybody complains about, we're not getting paid enough, et cetera, et cetera. In Russia, for you know most of the 1900s was like barely out of the freaking Middle Ages. Like when I was young living out there when I was like a couple years old. I mean, we didn't even have a toilet. It was still an outhouse. And the shower was like a toilet bowl on the wall, and you pull a chain, and that drains the water, and you got to fill it up with go to the well. I think we did. Holy crap! It was with a well. But as Carlin said, we're barely out of the jungle on this planet, and the demonic degrading force has no conscience and is not, you know, when you're working with darkness to replace something, which is the case in a revolution, you got to be ready for all of the worst types to come out of the woodwork. And I'm pretty sure that's how the mafia even got started in New York and everything. It was the Italian immigrants, like, I'm not sure whether it was refugees or immigrants, but that's where the mafia started. Is that you know the nation's at war, and then you gotta have people at home holding things together. But this is so much different with the technology, and like we have satellites now. If you topple the U.S. government, are you going to know how to run the satellites? Do they just run on their own? Like there's a core infrastructure that is so advanced, you can't just flick the people out. You can't. And I think that's uh, the way they really got us glued between a rock and a hard place. After World War II, the surviving Nazis really used their head, and they realized they weren't going to have a Nazi state, but they still had money. I mean, the absolute pillaging of so much of the world's gold and relics and all of this stuff became a financial corporate sub level. I mean, that's what the deep state is it's this sub layer that holds the world together in the modern era. And you can't just, Trump wants to talk about, drain the swamp. It's a swamp still. It's not damming a river. I mean, I was just watching on YouTube. Uh, there's like some amateur radio hacker pirate type people in Russia playing around with the old Soviet uh, radio transmitters, because Russia's a pretty big place. A lot of it's radio telecommunications. It's not lines, and if you're gonna imagine it becomes like Fallout. Like you have all this highly advanced infrastructure that you have like gangs and outposts, and it becomes like a Mad Max does it on like a post-apocalyptic, like everybody died, but that, the amount of people and advanced stuff we have, it would become You want to talk about a dystopia? Take the government out of the equation and leave all these animals to try to figure out how to run anything. Good luck. That's why I say that you're not going to take anything out. You're not going to replace anything. You have to do it from the human element and change yourself in the way that you relate to the world. Hey, there's a lot of talk about the fallen ones and jinn and that sort of thing. And I think that's where the revolution slash fall of man is really happening, is we're giving up our God-given right to be stewards of the earth, and we're basically giving it to the fallen jinn, invisible ones, through technology, and then we're just basically moving ourselves down a notch and becoming subservient. Because humanity hasn't evolved, really. We're still, I mean, intellectually we've evolved, crazy science and, you know, very articulate literature and theology, but as far as the human experience is concerned, yeah, right. It's exactly the same as it was. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to humans. So it really seems like, the only revolution you can have is people gaining higher consciousness and becoming more integrated in their position of stewardship of the earth. Like with all this AI and stuff and all the jobs that are going to be lost, it's just become different types of work. I think it will go from Wall Street to more Main Street. Instead of these like huge conglomerates, they all fracture and there's smaller groups of people, because people are going to live one way or the other, whether there's jobs or not. I mean, there's going to be the people living. Oh yeah, you're going to cut me music off? Yeah, but it's a very interesting, watching the cycle turn over. That's why it's so critical that we like actually work on healing the collective. Because if it falls apart, dude, it's gonna be a tumbleweed made of barbed wire. Tumbleweeds made of barbed wire, and we're all naked, just getting razored to death by billions of little cuts. I think as humans, we have to come to a better understanding of how good we have it and making do in a different form. Like moving away from war into a more creative, constructive thing. But with the internet, we're able to construct in a non physical arena, which is totally new. And that's really what I think the fifth dimension transformation is about. Is learning to, if we keep building in the 3D and just, everybody lives in the first world, perfect everything, the amount of resources it doesn't work out. I mean, this abundance thing It's infinite. There's infinity, dude. You can have everything. You can be a millionaire too. That's not how it fucking works. That is not how the world works. You're getting scammed. The real deal is to, get out of that where I want to be freaking Rick Ross with a mansion and freaking 30 cars and realize that no, those positions are still earned. And unless you're coming correct with some serious talent, you're not going to get there. But you can live a very humane life with everything you need if you just chuck your greed in the bucket and get over the fact that welcome to the club. Welcome to the midsection of the cast. That doesn't mean you gotta live like it's freaking the 1400s and where peasants carrying the water and dumping the latrines with buckets. Not like that, but you know, this abundance thing is just a scam of all scams. It really bothers me. Yes, you can be abundant in experiences and intellectual growth and read all the books and learn all the thing and play all the video games, but abundance, like I got 100 acres, it's not gonna work. Oh, and the way they're trying to work it now is to literally zombify as much of the populace as they can, so that you're in that space of work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep to such an intense degree you don't have the time to think about what you're in survival mode. In abundance, you're in this most abundant survival mode of history. But it's like, what is the plan here? Like, it really does. The only way you can make it work is like a neo feudalism. Like the if people actually participated in this republic and were democratic about it, and you know, I was looking at the stats for like voting, and it's such a small amount of the population compared to the whole, and like the amount of it that's probably just numbers messed with realistically, because I people don't vote really. They just beat you over the head with it's a free country until you believe it. Yeah, I mean it is free, but the boundaries are so pushed in that it's like, yeah, you're free in this thing. And it's very strange. And I don't blame anybody for the way that this is happening. It's kind of like that, the freaking the rock Sisyphus is pushing. If he lets go, you're gonna become a freaking, you're gonna get squashed. It's nobody's fault. It's kind of like the ship gotta keep on sailing. What I find strange is like the way we've absolutely leveled countries, and then you would think we would like invest in rebuilding and create like a you know blow it up, build it up again, you know, just kind of like fraudulent construction. Well, that's not really what's happening. It's kind of just like crippling, and then you leave a mess behind. Like there's no like foresight of what you're actually doing after you've leveled the country, which it doesn't make sense. And it's like a lot of these, policies and the ways of thought are like it's not human intelligence, like common sense intelligence. It really doesn't feel like, you know, a group of guys sitting around a round table, like Knights of the Round Table or some shit. It literally feels like dehumanized, inhuman, and there's an aspect of human thought and emotion that is not present. I mean, maybe that's a result of like being blinded by sin to the point you become inhuman. And I really want to find that picture. I've had really strange experiences with books, though, like where pages will change and the writing will change. And in this case, I can't find this picture, and I'm wondering if it changed up. Because, if you think about also this like new era of like quantum jumping and timeline shifts, that has effects. You get into the grandfather paradox, probably, like there's going to be glitches. I think that's literally what the Mandela effect is. From, if you're playing with dimensions and timelines over at CERN, trying to teleport stuff, there's going to be effects. Like your book is going to freaking literally change. The reason I wanted to show this picture was it was a very interesting picture of Churchill and FDR and the most demonic looking man I've ever seen just hovering in the background. And it's very ominous and very strange. It's clearly like, an elder statesman. But like these people are on a different plane of reality compared to us. I mean, it's literally like the difference between a saint, the saints, and then the layman, and that cast of stuff. The people that run nations. I mean, if you look at like the way that the German royal families essentially just, I mean, that's all the World War II was like a family fight between the different, or World War One, sorry. It was like the different royal families that were all originally one bloodline just fighting each other. Yeah, I've literally gone through every single page here pretty much, and I'm not seeing it. It's very paranormal stuff. This is kind of the book that, well, that picture's been there, so not all of them have changed if that's happening. I've had strange experiences with books. Here we go. Yeah, it didn't change. Check that dude out. mean, that's a very ominous picture. Oh yeah, that's definitely just my mind playing tricks on me there. But revolution, societal degradation, God's will or our will? Because if there's the Knights of Malta who've been around since the 1100s, and they're a sovereign military order, and they just, knights literally from the Middle Ages, from the time the Templars were freaking beheaded and killed until now, they're still doing what they do. The Catholic Church has these orders, things that have been around for hundreds of years. And religion is the original power system, power structure. And what happens when that no longer is relevant, which is to the greater community? That's kind of what's happening. People just don't have faith anymore and don't take it seriously, anyways. They might believe in God, but do they actually live up to the. No. 1 second. Oh. All right. Oh, nothing better for pontificating than the old Rolly. Um, but yeah, I don't think people think these things through. At least, I haven't. They don't do documentaries on revolutions and how the people think these things through. It's very high level thinking. Like I think like maybe Malcolm X might be the last like revolutionary that's kind of allowed because he's doing like civil rights revolutioning instead of like government revolution. But it's the parallels between now and the 1960s. When you look at the history of the 1960s, what happened around Vietnam? I mean, there are these time cycles where everything is like shattered and then reassembled very quickly in the background, and people generally don't catch on to what happened. And like in the 60s, it's like JFK is killed, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Haile Selassie from Ethiopia was assassinated. Uh, you know, Vietnam, you could kind of lump Korea in with it. But like there are these periods where it's like boom, 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 and you shatter like uh, uh, a healthy subculture that's rising that might change the world, and you just shatter it, and that's that. And people don't latch on to that. It's kind of like all this conspiracy stuff. Has anything come from all the conspiracy truther movement that we took part of for freaking 10 years? It's just all talking and awareness. I mean, everybody's aware of it now. Great. Nothing changed in Canada. Nothing changed here. Australia's fried. The UK is laughable. Yeah, literally the whole like post World War II landscape has just been annihilated and is getting replaced by realistically like Chinese social credit score totalitarianism. And that's what it looks like to me. And that's why it's like the revolution that is not being televised and is not going, it's not for our good. Oh, I'm really liking this freaking long format. 35 minutes of yammering. Literally just talking to myself. I mean, this is literally like the most dangerous thing to do. It's like what Facebook and Instagram is now. You're not actually talking to people, you're just filling out a resume of your internal thought process and like letting that get sold for data aggregation. It's very strange. It's like a voluntary enslavement. And I'm so addicted to everything. Facebook, everything. Kind of hard to be like, you gotta delete it, man. You're just freaking selling your soul. Oh. But yeah, what do I know? I'm literally just a random dude on the internet. I don't know much about anything. What if I did? I hope there's somebody watching this too. With the surveillance. Surveillance is such a strange thing. Like, it could just as easily be passive, and it still has the same effect on people. There could be nobody in the world that actually looks at it. It's just a computer data aggregation. Just add it into your file. It still has the same effect on the way you uphold yourself and carry yourself in the world. And it's kind of evil. Like when you start looking at the Israel Palestine conflict and like you take a historical perspective, the Jews are totally right to try to defend their, you know, statehood and all that. And like, you're being attacked, fight back. But at the same time, it literally feels like they don't have enough historians that see what the world is trying to do is just like literally stack dominoes around them and then it all falls in on top of Israel. And then, the Nazi plan of Jewish extermination is completed. And the even weirder part is what they're doing to the Palestinians is just like generational trauma of exactly what happened to them 75 years ago. It's longer than 75, but it's very strange how that works. And that's not human thought. Like, they're not consciously aware of what they're doing there, clearly. I mean, some of the Orthodox are, and the Holocaust survivors are talking about it, but like You don't listen to your own people. That if you're gonna banter anti-Semitism so much and like the, it's real, but you listen to the people that were affected so bad of your own peoples. I don't know. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. It's one of the things about the subtlety of the devil. Makes the road to hell very comfortable until you're like, we're in hell, which I can feel myself going down very rapidly. And it's kind of like, is this even reversible? Well, they would want you to think that. Christ knows that going to be here till the end of time, so that's not an issue, but they still want you to think, oh, it's too late. Because it gets in your freaking. Anyway, 40 minutes. How much longer can I randomly just pontificate? I'm running out of battery, too. Oh, I'm glad you didn't hear that. Getting too comfortable with my online audience of no one. Yeah. Well, I could say, yeah, the American Revolution was unique because we were able to run away from the tyranny. But now, where are you going to go? Antarctica? Is Antarctica going to thaw out and then we can freaking start a new country there? That would be pretty awesome. That would be, God would be lit for allowing that one. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there. These are mostly reflections between me and the one, but thank you for listening. And I'll leave it at that. Beep.